Hey guys, this is my leak and this is the podcast. This interview might be one of my favorite interviews of all time. And I know that probably is hefty to say, but I could have talked to Rachel Rodgers for hours, and I hate that it took us this long to connect. You probably know Rachel from We Should All Be Millionaires, a book that had the My Leak and Mama's community in a complete chokehold. She's back today to talk about Future Millionaire, a must-read for young people and honestly adults too, who want to build wealth without shame. Rachel and I talked money, mindset, motherhood, charging what you're worth, making mistakes, and why your community is your greatest asset. Rachel is sharp, honest, and wildly generous with her wisdom on this episode. Let's get into it.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
All right, Rachel Rodgers. I am super duper excited to have you on the podcast in the community today. And I just joked with you that it is an absolute shame that we have not met each other in person, but I am familiar with your work. Your work has come across my timeline. I have seen a lot of the things that you've been doing. And in the My Leak and Mama's community, your book was the talk of the town. We should all be millionaires for a really long time. So just know that you've got some solid fans in the community. Now, I do want to talk to you about your latest book.
Yes.
Future Millionaire. And I want to ask you, why, after writing your first book, did you feel this book needed to be written?
Yes. Well, my mission is, first of all, I agree it's a travesty. Yeah. So don't worry, we're going to fix that in the future.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Must. Yes.
You know what? We're working moms. We're doing our best, okay?
We're doing our best.
But I decided to write Future Millionaire because I can see that, just young people are out here struggling. And my mission is to help historically excluded people build wealth. Okay. Right. And so, the first group of people that I focused on was women. Mm-hmm. And I also have always thought, if this education could be in the hands of young people, if I would have known the things that are in this book at 14, 15, when I was low income and being how am I going to make it? And how am I going to not struggle the way I've watched my parents do for my entire life? Right. And so that's what made me want to write this book. And it's perfect for this time, right? There's divine timing. Yes. Because between the housing market, student loans, inflation, young people do not have access to the American dream, right? That has been told to us, right? Yeah. It is not you could go to college, right? But the good job is not guaranteed. And then, even if you get the good job, you still can't afford a house. Right. So that story no longer works. So they need a new story because otherwise they're never leaving our houses. And we don't want that either. And okay. We love them, but we would like them to exit at some point.
Yes. Okay. That part. So I'm going to tell you that the thing that I do with books is I start in the back first, especially books. I love it. I don't know why, but it's my thing. So I go to the back first. And so I want to talk to you about the back of the book. And there are 100 ways for young adults to make money. And I thought to myself, what made you decide to put this list in this book? I'm just curious because I have my own. I'm curious, but I'm what made you decide to do this?
Yes. Well, because I want young people, I mean, the main takeaway of the book is that making money is easy, and it's about focusing on it, and you have access to it. It is available to you. It is accessible to you, and you can do this thing that basically feels like alchemy, where you turn your natural talents into money, right? Yeah. And so that's really what I'm teaching them how to do, and then what to do with it, and what are the plays, right, once you start doing that.
Yeah.
And the thinking behind it. So the reason why I put the list in is because I wanted to get the wheels turning, because I think sometimes we just really limit ourselves. You know what I mean?
Completely.
And so, yeah, I wanted them to see, like, here's 100 ways. And in these 100, you're going to find things that you're like, I would never do that. That sounds like hell to me. And you're going to also find things in that list that are like, I could do that, right? And so that was why I wanted them to have, like, a whole long list. And I had to fight for it because my publisher was like, you're past the word count.
I could see. I was like, dang, she put a whole list in here. Number one, who let her do that? Number two, I love this. Because, because what I love about it is, first of all, I think any adult could use this list. And there was a time when, similar to you, I was just, people would say, well, what kind of side hustle? I'm like, walk dogs, babysit. Like, it really is...
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. What are the things that you love to do? And I promise that you can get paid about that. Paid for that. Now, I do have real questions written, but I'm going to ask you all my book questions first. So,
okay.
Chapter. I am a nerd when it comes to books and reading. So, chapter 6, Friend Like a Millionaire. I said, see, now we're talking, and you tell this story about how I think you're in law school, and you're with a guy. You were seen, kind of. Your friends knew that you were like, we just being friends. Anyway, y'all are driving into the city. He gets pulled over. And as y'all get pulled over, he tells you he has a gun that's not his in the car. And so let's talk about the importance of friending like a millionaire. And I also think moms, friends, people in general, like, I want to know how you build your squad.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And I included that story. There's a couple of stories that I'm like, these are a little dicey, but
I think, listen, that was very PG-13. We've lived lives, right?
We've lived lives. Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. There's another story in there about my first side hustle, which was not exactly like, I don't know. It was definitely going against the rules. I won't say it's against the law, but along those lines, right?
Yeah.
So the reason why I wanted to include those stories is because I want young people to be, if you've experienced some things, if you've done some things that you regret, don't think that you're out of the game, right? Like, there's still more game to be played, right? And you can always change course. I wanted it to be relatable.
I want to tell you, so you don't feel alone in this. I have shared the story, and I'll tell it here because I think it's relevant, that I had reached out. I had applied for an internship in New York City, and the company called me back and said, hey, we don't have any internships, but we do have access to this larger internship that you'd actually get paid for, and we'd pay your rent and all these things, but you have to have this particular GPA. And all I heard her say was unofficial transcript. So I'm like... it said unofficial, and I swear it like neon. It was like, just make it up. So
listen,
I went to the computer lab because this is back in the day when you couldn't. There was no
Photoshop.
There was no. And when I tell you that I sat there and created my unofficial transcript, and I got the job. And sometimes you have to be creative out here, and so
listen. The reason why I say historically excluded, because it is purposeful. There is a system at play. And do you think I will not play this game as well? Right? Like, listen, I'm getting played. So I can continue to get played, or I can learn how to become a player. Okay?
If I'd had access, if I'd had this is what my official grade would be. But you said unofficial, so let's do it. And I got the job, and it was fantastic. And my rent was paid in New York, and I got paid. It was amazing. Changed my life. So, okay.
You opened a door for yourself is the point. So, like, I think sometimes, and this is one of my actual rules for life, which I'll get to your question about squad too. But one of my rules for life is don't be too precious, right? Like, we are so precious sometimes about doing it perfectly, or I can only be seen this way, or I have to do it exactly to the T. And it's like, girl, just get it out there. Okay. Even with marketing, right? Like, oh, this was the deadline, but I didn't get enough people. Move the deadline. Whatever you gotta do. Okay.
Right.
We just out here trying to win. Right. And also too, if you're not cheating people or like trying to steal from somebody, you know what I mean? Which, let's be clear, people are actively trying to steal from us. They have stolen from us. They've stolen from our families. That's why we're here. So let's acknowledge where we're at and why we're here. But we're not trying to do that. Like, you're not trying to harm anybody.
No.
Stop being so precious. Like, don't be so special with it, right? Like, let it go and just get the win, okay?
Get the win, right? Yes. I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Me too. Listen, it's important. But when it comes to squad is literally everything. When people, because here's the thing. I start the book, and I start all my books, right, talking about mindset, because it's always about the story that you're playing in your head, right? And we got to attack that story first, because that story is a broke-ass story, which is, if you have no money, the story is a broke story. I already know that, because we can tell what the input is by the output. Right? So we know what the story is. So let's change the story first, because I can tell you all the plays. It won't matter if you still got that story, right?
Yeah.
So we got to fix that first. And then people say, well, like, how do you stay in that place? How do you not get impacted by everything that you're seeing? How do you not like fall back? Even if you have a moment where you're like, yes, I believe that I can become a millionaire. How do you not let the world trample you down and go and fall back down? Friends. Community is how you do it. So you get the mindset shifts and you do the thought work, and then you surround yourself with people who continuously reflect back to you who you really are. Not the BS broke story, but who you truly really are, and have that reflected back to you repeatedly over and over again. And you do that for them as well, and you know all about it, right? Because you know about community. You've built this beautiful community, and so that's what it's about. So like doing the mindset work and then having community there to reinforce it, right? And that's how we win together, right? And that's how I did it. That's literally how I did it.
Okay. And so are there any deal breakers when it comes to having a squad? I think it's like we can go over all the lovely fluff questions, and I love those.
Yes. I like the juicy ones.
Yeah, the ones I'm most interested in are, what are some things that are like similar to the way that some of us are living lives where maybe it's not the story where we're riding with somebody who has a gun that's not theirs, but what are some of the friendships or connections that we might be making that may not be good for us, that you have some spidey senses or a radar on that you can share with us?
Yes. So one thing I will say too is look to your left and your right, right? Okay. And this is advice that I heard Issa Rae give, and it's so true, because even the people that I started with, and I know you've experienced this too, the people that we started with, like some of them are now like, winning major awards and in Hollywood movies and on big stages, had top podcasts, right? Like these people to your left and your right, they are eventually going to win, right? And so will you. And when that's happening, like they are the ones that you want to ride with, because sometimes we're always trying to go up, right? Like, let me get somebody who's 7 rungs above me. And yes, there are absolutely big name celebrities, very highly successful people that have opened doors for me along the way. Okay. But those were the rare occasion. What is much more common is my ride or dies who I met at a conference, right? Or met at some network thing that like we just clicked, that when I say, hey, I have this going on, they're like, oh, I know somebody who can help you. Let me call them right now. Right? And let me get you in that room. Right? Yeah. And so you benefit not only from your network, but their network, and you all win together by keep speaking your names in rooms full of opportunity. Right? And that's how it happens. So don't get so pressed about whoever's up here. Right? Like, we love them, but they busy as hell. They don't have time, right? They already have friends that they're not calling that they should be. You know what I'm saying? Among their peers, right? So focus on the people around you, because trust me, they can help you win too. And it's not about all the trappings and who got the biggest audience and all of that. It's like, who is going to ride for you? Because trust me, I have friends who do not have a big following, but their network is crazy.
Listen, I have friends that they haven't posted on social media more than once or twice this year. Right. But when it came time to, like when I started my last business, Curlbox, like I had a close friend who connected me with his classmate from West Point who owned the warehouse that was like 12 miles from my house. And here's the deal. As I saw you talked about your credit score, I had no credit at the time, probably 500 or less. And they were like, because you're friends with him, we're going to go ahead and take you on. And so, like you said, and this is somebody that I met when I was interning, maybe 10, 15 years before then. So I feel like I could talk to you all day, but I want to talk about something that I'm seeing in my work. I see people, clients, and just people in general who feel like they have to prove they're worth the money they want to charge. And so I just want to know, it would be so important if you could talk about how to build sort of internal validation so we can stop negotiating our worth. Is there something there that you can help us with?
Yes. Here's the reality. The reality is, right, that we've all, especially as Black women, we've all had jobs where we are undervalued, right? As a collective, we are undervalued in the marketplace, whether you're speaking on somebody's stage, selling a book, getting a job, selling your services, right? As a collective, we are undervalued, right? And there's a million reasons why systemically. And of course, it's wrong, but that's the reality, right?
Yeah.
So at what point are we going to get valued if we also are going to participate in the undervaluing of ourselves, right? So it's already happening societally and collectively. And if we're going to participate in that and not say, no, that's not okay, at what point will it change? It will not.
Yeah. It's scary,
it will only change with us. Yes, it is scary. So I'll give you an example. Like my first book, We Should All Be Millionaires. I told my agent that I wanted 6 figures for that book and I would take nothing less, right? And I'm a first-time author. And he said, okay, well, that's not usually what happens. And I was like, I'm not usual. I don't know if you notice. I am not usual, okay? And here's the thing. So, and I'll tell you what allowed me to do that in a second too. But so then he had an offer from a publisher. They loved the book. They were very interested. They loved the book proposal. And they offered me just under 6 figures. And I said, I'm pretty sure I said
I know what
6 figures. Yes. And he was like, well, this is a great offer for a first-time author. You should take it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm not going to take it. So I will publish this book myself and sell it directly to my own audience and make that, and better. And more importantly, take a stand for my value, right?
Wow.
So, and not only my value, but every Black woman author who's going to come with a book proposal after me, and y'all done already underpaid me, and so now you have evidence that you have, of course, all this evidence that you could underpay us, and I'm adding to that evidence, and now you're going to try to underpay them too. No, get comfortable paying Black women. So now you're going to pay me 6 figures, or we have no deal, and I don't care. And what allowed me to do that too is one, having this principle and this mission and this personal value that like I literally can't stomach taking that because I understand what this means, right? Like beyond me. So I can't even bring myself to take it even if I want to, even if I'm tempted, is one. But the second piece is something that I learned in law school. I have a certificate in mediation. So negotiation and mediation is something I studied in school. It's like my minor, basically.
Okay.
And so one of the things that we learned, there's a great book called Getting to Yes. And it's all about, like, honestly, everyone should read it because it's literally just about relationships at the end of the day, right?
Right.
So that's like the core text of like mediation, right? Is Getting to Yes. These Harvard professors wrote it. So it's a great book. Read it. But one of the things they talk about is a BATNA, right? BATNA, which means best alternative to a negotiated agreement, right? So when you are going into an opportunity and someone's offering you something and you're like, that ain't it, right? What is your best alternative to getting the price that you want, right? So if they're going to say no to that, so it's like, I'm going to ask them for this, okay? And if they come back and say, no, they're not going to pay that, what am I going to do? What is next for me? What's my next move? So map that out before you ever even go there, right? What is my next move? So I could have, let's say I have this new keynote that I want to do, and I want to do it on this stage, and I want to do it at this price. And they don't want to pay me that price. Okay, cool. What's my best alternative? An alternative could be, I'm actually going to take this keynote and I'm going to host my own event. at a church, at a high school, someplace that's cheap to rent, and I'm going to sell tickets to it, and I'm going to make what I wanted to make and do this keynote on my own terms, right? So just knowing what your options are allows you to confidently negotiate, right? So it's just the prep. Another example I'll give you too, a friend of mine, went to New York. She was meeting with publishers and she wanted to get this book deal. And, she had a couple meetings that didn't go well and other meetings that got canceled. And she just felt so undervalued. And she had this book already written. And she had this like Airbnb that she had rented for the week. And I was like, you know what you need to do? I want you to go call a videographer, get them over here, and you're going to film this content and turn it into a course. And you're going to make what you wanted to make from that book deal on this course. And you're going to help people with this content. And then the book deal will come. And that's exactly what she did. She sold the course, built up an audience around the course, sold the book, and then wound up making money from the book too, right? So we need to decide, like, what are our other options besides this? Because I think that's what happens is we make this one deal in front of us, this one opportunity in front of us, legendary.
Yep.
You know who's legendary? You.
Yes.
You are the legend, not this deal, okay?
Right.
So what else can you do with your legendary self and your legendary skills and your legendary talents, right? Where else can you put them? How else can you create your own deal? So always be thinking about what is my best alternative to a negotiated agreement before you ever walk into a negotiation. So yes, we want that deal, but we know what our play is if we don't get it. And when you do, it's okay. You feel confident to exit stage left when you know they ain't talking what you want them to talk.
Yeah, we call it stay ready, right?
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
And then I think it's that having the confidence to walk if it's not going to happen. And here's the thing that I think if more people could really consider this and what you're saying is that I promise that you don't want to be in a situation where you have begged for an opportunity.
No.
You don't want to be in that situation because be it a job, be it an any kind of thing that you want, it is this misery. And so having
nothing good is coming from that.
Yeah, and just being like, this is not being difficult. This is just it's something that a lot of us just aren't used to.
Listen, it makes me mad to even hear being difficult. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am difficult. Okay? Tell everybody. Okay? Tell everyone you know. Tell your friends. Tell your mother. Tell your neighbor who might want to hire me too. I am difficult. Okay? This package don't come in convenience. Okay? This talent ain't going to be simple for you. You better put in that work and pay for it. And if you're not prepared to do that, you can't have it. Okay? And I'm not here to be convenient or nice or, easy. Whatever. That is not the goal. Okay?
Oh my God.
Listen, that label that they be putting on black women is just designed to keep us down and keep us broke. And as soon as you are in a conversation with someone where they are trying to convince you that your value is less, exit the conversation. Now, if you want to tell me you don't got it, right? I understand that you are 100% worth that. I don't have it. Here's what I can do to make it worth your while. Okay, I'll have that conversation. But if you say I'm worth less, goodbye. Click.
I feel like we're actually done at this point.
I'm ready to cuss somebody out.
That's the whole interview. That's all. I mean, I'll just drop that last minute and a half, and that's it. Put it on replay. Put the audio on the vision board. Play it every morning when you wake up, because that's the energy that I need to go into a workout. I need that energy to go into a negotiation. I need that energy to go into a job interview. Anyway, okay. I want to.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay. With experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
You know that feeling when someone shows up for you just when you need it most? That's what Uber is all about. Not just a ride or dinner at your door. It's how Uber helps you show up for the moments that matter. Because showing up can turn a tough day around or make a good one even better. Whatever it is, big or small, Uber is on the way. so you can be on yours. Uber, on our way.
No. What is one belief that maybe you had to unlearn to allow more money into your life? Like, is there anything that you had to get together within yourself here?
Oh my God, so many things. You know, I for sure undervalued myself. I also, you know, I grew up very low income. Okay. And so I had a story, even as I made money and was making six figures, I would even say probably into seven figures. Like, I had this story that I literally am still unpacking in therapy, you know, literally to this day. So just understand, you're never done. Like, no, I don't get triggered as easily, but it can still happen, you know. Absolutely. But I had this story that, like, one day I'm going to be poor again. And it wouldn't matter how much money I made, how much money I had in my bank account, what my net worth was, how many assets I had. I still had this story that one day somebody going to come get me.
It's all coming.
Yes.
It's all
yes.
coming.
And it's just like, because poverty was associated with my identity. Mm-hmm. And I had to, it is an extraction process, right? It doesn't happen overnight. And that's why this thought work is an ongoing thing. Literally, I've had a coach say to me, this was years ago when I was still practicing law, but he was like, I want you to say this, a black man. He's like, Rachel, say this to yourself. I will never be broke again. He's like, I want you to say it out loud. Yeah. Because I still have that story. Literally, I feel like I just talked to my therapist about this the other day because I think it is just so hard to get out when that has been your story. When you have a story of so much struggle, it becomes like you are accustomed to the struggle. The struggle is where comfort is. Yeah. Wealth, excess. I have more than I need to pay my bills. What? You know what I mean? Like, that's uncomfortable. That's scary. And we have to sit in that discomfort, right? Mm-hmm. So that we can get a new level of comfort, right? Somewhere else. Because we don't have to stay here. We can go up here, and it's really all in our heads, right? It has less to do with the dollars, and it has more to do how we think of ourselves. And when we have, here's the danger of that story. When you have that story that one day I'm going to be broke again, right? Because that's been my family story for generations. Why would it change with me? You know what I mean? And it's like, so, special, right? And consciously we could know that, but subconsciously we're still like, one day the shoe's going to drop, right? Yep. The thing is, right, like when we are thinking that way, we will start taking actions that make that true. We will start attracting things to our life that will create that struggle because that's our comfort level and that's what we're vibrating on and bringing to ourselves.
Completely. When you talk about that negotiation or just this idea of like, I'm not going to accept less, that this story of one day I might be broke again might be playing and then you end up there, you know? I have a friend, a good friend who is a wealth manager, and she said that she has not met like a single person of color who is not financially insecure, regardless of how much they make.
I believe it.
Financially insecure.
I believe
where
it.
You think, you know, I'll never forget when I wanted to quit my business, and I was telling my therapist this, and it felt like it could never happen. And she's just like, you know how someone was like, well, then quit. But you don't know my situation. You don't know my bills. You don't know. You said you saved money, right? Yeah. And you said you saved money to last a long time, didn't you? Yeah. So, you know, what would happen? And it's just this idea where I thought like, well, if I stop doing this one thing, I'll never make money doing anything else again. And that's simply not true.
Yes. It prevents us from pivoting, right? Mm-hmm. So one thing I want people to know, and it's something my friend Susan Hyatt said to me once, and it stays with me. Mm-hmm. And she said, your best work is never behind you.
That part.
Never, ever.
It's not.
So no matter what you did and how successful it was, there's another opportunity. And if you're being called to it, you're being called for a reason, not for no reason.
Exactly. So go there. Okay.
Yes.
I have some fun questions since we are with the mamas. I'm curious to know how many of us are trying to raise free, emotionally secure, financially literate children, but many of us weren't raised this way. What does it look like for you to build this wealth, perhaps while reparenting yourself? You know, how are you, how does your childhood influence sort of the decisions that you make with your children?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. So like, I basically am trying to not do most of what my parents did.
That's all of us here.
Yes, exactly. They loved me. You know what I mean? And there were things that they did that I am 100. Like, one of the things I will say that my mother did that I do feel is a large reason why I'm here today is because she constantly encouraged me and told me, yes, you can. Yes, you can. I believe you. Yes, you can.
Yes. Yeah.
So when I said, I want to be an astronaut, of course you become an astronaut. I want to be a doctor, of course you can be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer, of course you can be a lawyer. It was never no. It was never, oh, maybe tone it. Never. Whatever ginormous dream I had, she was like, yes, baby, sky's the limit. You can make that happen. Yes. And I believed her to this day, right?
Yep.
So like that's how to create those results. So when your kids come to you with their big dream, if they want to become a professional video game player, or they want to become a professional soccer player, or whatever, a famous influencer or YouTuber, whatever it is, and you're like, oh, I don't like the sound of that because that don't sound like a real job. I want you to shh. Okay? Don't do it. Do not do it. Do not say to them, oh, you can't do that. Or why don't you think about something else? Or that's not a real job. Do not kill their dreams.
Do not.
Support them and tell them, yes, you can. What does that look like? Let's talk about what that entails to make something like that happen. Then when you get to the work and talking about the work of making that dream happen, they might be like, you know what? You're right. I don't want to do that. Right?
Yeah.
So like have real conversations with them, but do not kill their dreams. Do not.
Don't. I know. My son asked me, he's like, do you think I could be a professional soccer player or an artist? Which should I do first? I'm like, I think you can do both at the same time.
Correct.
You know, whatever
exactly.
It is that, and I think so every time I think he comes to me and he looks at it and goes, really? And I go, yeah. Like,
yes.
Look at you. You think my guy right here, you can do both? You know what I mean? And
yes.
Really, a lot of it is you want to be a YouTuber. I said that if I had told my my parents, I think I had a little bit of mixed. My parents believed in me. My mom felt like I could do anything, but I think what I created didn't exist when I was a kid. And so who even knows what they will become as the world turns. So just support it all. Support the desire, support the effort. Okay.
That's it.
Now
that is it.
Yeah, we want to get into some of the fun stuff. We want to know, what's the most expensive thing you don't regret? The most expensive thing you've done, purchased, spent that you just don't regret?
There's a couple of things. One is I never regret a first class seat. Okay. Never. You know what I regret? Economy. Okay. If I played myself and booked too late, or listen, if y'all ever see me in economy, no, I am mad. Okay. I'm definitely sitting there mad and just walk by and be like, sorry, Rachel. And I'm be like, I know, I got caught.
Yeah.
Because I'm mad, trust me.
Really? Rachel, I stopped flying first class. Like, I stopped flying first class probably back 3 years ago. I think when I decided that I wanted to quit working, and the big mental swirl for me was that you're working to do these things that are sending a message either to others or to yourself. Like, listen, I do enjoy a first class seat, don't get me wrong, but after I had 2 small children, I said any seat without my kids is first class. Any seat without my kids is first class. Exit row is a bonus. Don't play with me. Listen, I just want to leave the house. I just want to be gone.
By myself with nobody to take care of. Yes. And I think that's part of it, right? Like, you got to choose what you value, right?
That's it.
And for me, it's like I travel a decent amount for work, and I know the way that I show up when I have had spaciousness and I could work and I have snacks, because that's really it's about being fed, because I didn't eat before I got there, and I'm going to need to eat.
Yeah. You know? and you need a car. You don't need to be driving. You need a car. Like, I do think it's like, what is the value of these things? I worked for celebrities before I got into all of this, and it all makes sense. If you're trying to, I went on tour with bands, if they're trying to show up and perform every night at the top level in every city, they can't be driving the van, they can't be looking for food, so I do believe that a lot of this is baked into for you to have a great performance. So I think but the reason why I shifted is that I was like, if I just don't ever want to work, like, here are all the things I could stop doing to never work again and continue to live my life. And it's like, oh, that's it?
Listen, that math, trust me, I have done that math recently.
Yes. You just, it's like
I agree.
It's like, what is my do nothing, like, do nothing lifestyle. So I tell people, whatever you don't see me doing, it's because I don't want to. And if I don't want to, I don't have to.
Correct. I agree. And I think everybody should have that list. For me, it's like, I don't care about cars.
Yeah.
I care about my house. I care about traveling well. I love being surrounded by beautiful art. So investments in art, I never regret.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things that I'm like all in on. And then there's other things that other people like, fancy clothes, that I don't care. I have enough fancy clothes in my closet for the rest of my life. Like, you will not see me buying a new purse. I do not care. Okay. That's not something
That's not true.
It doesn't matter, right? Like, I'll admire other people's purses, and I'm like, I don't want to work for that. That's what you have to do. It's like, do I want to work to spend for that? I do not.
Yeah. Okay. So let's flip it. I want to know, what's a money lesson you learned from a terrible purchase? What is
Oh, my God. So I made a huge mistake attempting to invest in some international real estate. Where I did not fully understand the differences between buying there versus buying in the U.S. And I got caught out there and lost a huge sum of money, which I'm going to tell that story in my next book. I'm like, listen, that's the thing. When you're an author, you're like, this is a podcaster, right? It don't matter. Yeah. This is a story that I'm going to tell that is going to help so many people. So that's your solace. But trust me, it was so painful that I just got caught out there, right? Like, where you just get hype and you get excited about something and there's a move you want to make and you're just like not dotting your I's across. I'm a lawyer. You know what I mean? Like, come on. So anyway, so I just got caught out there, and then it all fell apart, and I realized it was fault. And it's like, I could go deeper and potentially lose more money, or I could just call it right now. And I chose to do that. And I remember, here's the thing too. I noticed that for the month after it was happening, it happened, and I'm really upset that it happened, and I'm trying to get over it. And I could just feel myself saying the word loser in my head all the time. Now, that is not a word that's typically in my vocabulary. Okay. And I was just like, girl, you have to stop saying that, and you have to forgive yourself, right? So, like, I had to do some active thought work to stop being like, I'm a failure, or it was failure. I mean, it might have been failure, but it's like, I'm a failure. I failed, right? And I said that. You keep saying those things to yourself, right? And now you have the danger of creating more of those situations, right? So it's like, it was a lot of thought work to forgive myself for that.
I'm a human. Humans make mistakes. You really, sometimes I can get in a thought spiral like that too. And I will know, like, don't let me lay down and get ready for bed. And my brain's going about what I thought I did, and not just what I thought I did, but what I think other people might think about what I did. Right. And so it really becomes a thing where I just try to say to myself, like, I'm going to be so compassionate to myself. I am a human being, and there is no life that I'm going to live where I'm not going to make mistakes, and not just small mistakes, big mistakes. And here's the thing about when you play big in life, guess what your mistakes look like? Big. Huge. Yeah. And so that's a part of it. It's like, of course you fell on stage because you're on stage. Yes. You didn't fall walking across the street, and you sure didn't fall on a jog, because we know you ain't doing that. I'm talking to myself, but
listen, that moment, what really helped to heal me is when I confessed it to my CFO. I had an outside CFO at that time. Now it's my husband, who also, by the way, the world didn't see this. This was a very in secret thing that no one had to know, right, except me. But my husband knew, and he was very upset that I lost this huge sum of money. Okay. So, and he was also like, I'm skeptical about this, but he co-signed. So we had a whole conversation about, stop co-signing me. Okay? Like, he's supportive to the point that he's like, I'll follow her anywhere, because we stay looking like we jumping off a cliff, but then we just fall in a pile of cash, right? So, like, let me follow her some more. Yeah. Then he was like, oh, time out. This is not your area of expertise.
You're actually cut off. I do think, and this is a crazy sidebar, I do think that sometimes when we are good at something or some things, it can trick us into thinking that we are good at everything, or more things than we. Stay in your lane. I say stay in your lane, stay in your story.
When you stay winning, right, just like when you stay losing, right, you think you're going to keep losing. When you stay winning, you think the winning is endless, right? And so you can play yourself. But my CFO, she was like, do you know how many clients I have who have played themselves even more spectacularly than you just did.
Yeah.
You know, she's like, this is part of it. She's like, you're new to money. You don't know, right? So like, this is how it works. You gotta lose money. So that's how you learn that lesson. So I was like, oh, okay. That actually confessing it. This is why Tiffany Aliche says, what does she say? Something. It's something about shame, but it's like secret, like. Shame has more power when you keep it a secret, right?
Completely.
So as soon as you start saying it out loud, it loses its power. So you tell other people, and now they reflect back to you like, oh, okay, let me put this in context for you, right? Because this is seeming like everything right now, and it's this. But completely. It's this in your head, you know?
Head. And as soon as you say it out loud, someone's like, oh, me too, or that happened. And so, okay, I think I have one or two more questions, but what is something that still feels unreal about your life today, even though you've earned it? What still feels unreal, if anything?
I would say, it feels so weird to say this, but fame. You know, and I don't consider I'm very clear that I'm not famous like a huge celebrity, but my kids say to me, oh, mommy, you're famous. And I'm like, girl, stop that. No, I'm not. You know, I feel like that feels so people's reactions to me, like I run into people in airports all over the world. Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, I loved your book. And I'm like, really? Here in Greece? You know what I mean? Like, how did you even get my book? You know? So, like, just running into people and they're being excited or even, like, this idea of starstruck, I'm like, I'm just Rachel from the block. Like, why are you hyped right now?
But you're doing such phenomenal work. And I think what fascinates me most about this era that we're in is that people are finally writing to us. You know, like I was talking about, I did a Substack recently about when I was maybe 23, 4, 5, and the only book that I could, something that was like, it was Susie Orman's Young something. And it's just like, I feel like these kinds of books, like even just reading your stories are so relatable. And it's like, finally, people are speaking to us. And when you speak to, when people speak to us, it's just like you said, it's like you pop a pin. It seems less, you know, just the fact that you keep saying millionaire over and over and over again. You know what I mean? It becomes attainable. It's like, I mean, it's not a new word. It's something that's in your lexicon. It's something that feels like it feels like something that's possible for Rachel and Myleik and for anybody who's listening. And it's not about us being any more special, but just the fact that like there's this belief that we have. And so I think something, maybe a great question to wrap this up on, and hopefully I meet you so that we can just like cackle and kiki in real time. Hopefully somewhere sunny. Okay. So you can tell me about this deal that fell through. No, I'm just kidding. But I would say, since we are live, this is going to be on my podcast, but since we are live with the mamas community, if you could write a fortune cookie for every woman in this community, what would it say? And I don't care if it's long, but like, what's a message that you would give to all of us?
It would say, making money is easy. Yes, for you. Yes, you, insert first name. I'm talking to you. Making money is easy for you. That's what I want all of us to walk away knowing and believing, because it's true. And I think society is organized in a way to make us believe that making money is so hard, so out of reach, it's so difficult. And that is literally BS. I've made money in so many insanely easy ways. You know what I mean? That like we're not taxing, we're not exhausting, did not require 17,000 steps. You know what I mean? And I'm like, wow, you just gonna pay me for that? Awesome. Right? So it's like, change your belief system around money and understand that making money is easy. And if that triggers you or if it makes you uncomfortable, good. I want it to make you uncomfortable. And I want you to say, what comes up for me when I hear that? And it's like, well, it's not true because, great. Give me all your reasons why not. And then what I want you to do is say, okay, what evidence do I have that making money is easy? right?
Yeah.
Or at least making money could be easy for me. What evidence do I have? And search your brain and look and search the world and search for those stories and look for the evidence, because this is how we change our brain. This is how we change those neural pathways that keep telling us a sad story that could be telling us $1 million story instead. You know? And that's what I will tell you from the other side. Like, listen, I still have been poor longer than I was rich. Okay? To this day, I still been poor longer.
You still haven't been on, you still not owe money yet.
Yes. So I've been on both sides of it, and I will tell you, making money is easy is 100% true.
Yeah. If I could share an exercise that I like to encourage people to do to just layer on top of this, is I have said to people, number one, don't borrow money. Don't ask to borrow money. Ask for it. And if you don't believe that people are this, like, it's almost like a test of pockets.
Yes.
Ask 5 people. Just build the muscle. Ask 5 people for $20 or $100. And I know people are like, Myleik, you're crazy. But I would say it's so wild. If you ask 5 people for $100, I am willing to bet you one person's going to give it to you. And here's the deal.
Absolutely.
2
maybe
people
2.
probably, maybe 2. And here's what I can tell you about the one person. They're not even going to ask you for what you need it for.
Yes.
They don't even care. They're just like, oh, she asked me, because you never ask for anything. You always want to try to qualify. You going to pay it back. Why, you don't have to be special for $100. Just ask. You got
I love this. I love this so much. There's 2 things I want to say about this, which I love this exercise. One, it's about like learning to receive money and growing our capacity to receive. Like my husband, somebody just did a favor for my husband that is going to help him make a bunch of money. And he's like, oh, what can I do for them? And I'm like, I want you to not jump to try and do something for them. And I want you to just sit in the discomfort of receiving.
Yep.
And not owing anything back, because he didn't ask for nothing. He just wanted to do you a favor. Let him do that favor and fall back. And he was like, you're right. I'm a chill. Like just receive, let people do things for you. Second thing is watch Amazing Race. Okay? And watch the early seasons of Amazing Race, like, I don't know, season 7 or something like that, which is the one I'm watching right now. I'm obsessed with this show. Especially if you are a coach. Like the mindset that comes up as people are going through this race, like it is so fascinating to watch. And I love to travel, so those 2 things together just makes it my favorite show. But one of the things that they do is if you come in last and it's a non-elimination leg, so you get to stay, they take all your money. So these teams have no choice but to beg people for money, right? And literally every time they get more than they need by begging on the street to get to the next location. Every single time, no matter, they're not people, they're not charming, but it just proves your point, though.
Yes, this is what I try to say, that like you don't have to be even special to be a person that has money. You just got to have the guts. And you'll be shocked, like you said, it's just in like this shame. If you are ashamed to ask, you just got to let it go. You just have to be like, I'm just going to ask. And I've said it for years. It's an exercise. Ask 5 people for $20 and watch what happens. They're just going to be like, here you go, here you go, here you go. And that's how easily money flows. I feel like I love talking to you.
I know. Wait, can I say one more thing before we wrap up? Because that just made me... One other thing that I say all the time that is so important is in this book as well.
Yes.
Wealth requires risk. So that exercise, it's the risk of being rejected. It's the risk of someone saying no, right? Or it's the risk of putting money down. Or it's the risk of putting time and energy in and it doesn't pan out. If you are not taking risks, you are not on the path to build wealth unless you're about to inherit money, right? So understand that risk is required. Bet on you. You're going to have to bet time, money, energy, ego. Okay? Being seen. You got to risk these things because the risk, we all know billions of people around the world who work hard every day who are not wealthy. So it's not hard work. It's risk. That is the key.
Yeah. I so love this. And again, just further says that I hate that this is our first time talking in meeting. And so thank you for this mind-blowing, epic interview. And everyone, Future Millionaire by Rachel Rodgers buy it for your kid, buy it for a grad, buy it for yourself, because there's gems throughout this. So thank you, Rachel.
Thank you for having me. This was amazing.